Hi, my name is Josh, and this is Sydney, and I'm a micro-budget filmmaker. And today, I wanted to talk about if I could go back in time and make one choice differently about directing my feature film Deadlocked, what would it be? So, if you didn't know, my film Deadlocked came out last month on Amazon Prime. It's free to watch if you want to go watch it. Actually, maybe you should watch it if you're watching this video because it might not even make sense out of context. But I wanted to talk about specifically the one choice I would go back in time and make different about the film. I'm not talking about things that were completely out of my control, like the budget or even how good of a writer I was at the time 5 years ago. What is one piece of advice myself now could go back in time and give myself and change the movie for the better? And I think that I would tell myself to not make the film take place in real time. So if you're a micro-budget filmmaker who's considering making a film take place in real time, there's just some things you want to consider first. It's actually a lot of times a good idea for micro-budget filmmakers because that means that you will likely have fewer locations because, there's only so far that the characters can travel if the film takes place in real time. And when I say real time, I mean we don't have time jumps, even small time jumps forward. The only place that happens is the opening scene of the movie, but it's really disconnected from the rest of the film. I think in the case of Deadlocked, the combination of the film taking place in real time, the fact that it's a single location and it's literally a room for the single location, that also made things really hard. And then third of all is that was an ensemble cast. So those three factors together made things really tricky on the writing side and on the production side. And so I want to dig into those and give you some things to consider. So first of all, the writing. So when I came on board of the project, there was already an existing script. It took place in real time. The producer allowed me to rewrite it in my own style, in my own voice. And I didn't even think to change the real-time aspect. I was like, oh yeah, this is great because it's going to make things more claustrophobic, that, there's no escape. We're not going to jump forward in time and give you that relief. And to an extent, I probably did do that. But it also held me back in a lot of ways. And so when you have an ensemble cast of characters and you have, a normal day going to a hellish post-apocalyptic wasteland of a city at the end of the film, and that all happens in 78 minutes, it's gonna feel a little forced. But I wanted all the characters, to have a little bit of a backstory or a little bit of a character arc, some kind of development. And that's hard to do for each of those characters in such a short amount of time without it not feeling at least a little bit forced. So that's one way it kind of boxed me in, like an elevator. So moving over to the production side, the hardest thing about this film being real time on executing it is the fact that it was all taking place in this small room with so many characters. That made the continuity of the film so difficult. We had an amazing script supervisor who, made sure everybody was standing in the right places, that everyone's eye lines were always right. But, if you have a film that takes place in this small location with so many characters and you jump around in time at all, like, shoot scenes out of order, that just really is so hard to keep straight in your head. And it can be incredibly difficult to think and talk about scenes because there aren't really scenes. The scene breaks I did in the script are kind of arbitrary. It's like, oh yeah, this thing happens and then a different thing happens, but there's not actually any change at all as far as location or time. And so that just makes it really hard to execute. The other side of it was the cinematography, like I was saying, keeping the continuity straight of don't cross the line and the blocking and where are characters standing right now and where are they going to be standing later. And, we kind of opted to shoot a lot of close-ups because that gives you some flexibility in the editing. You know, you can cut from this character over here to this character. We can cut away to this other character who has a reaction. It gives you a lot of options in the editing, but it takes so long to shoot with an ensemble cast if you're going to shoot a close-up for every person for all these scenes. Part of me, I think I would also maybe opt for some more wide shots and cut some close-ups. Only do the really necessary close-ups. But the truth is, I wasn't that experienced at the time. I hadn't really done a full-on feature before, and I just had us try to do too many pages in too short of time with this method of shooting close-ups all the time. In fact, halfway through the elevator shoot, we realized that we were just not going to make it with the time we had left. You know, we only had the location for so long, we only had the actors for so long. We had too much left to shoot, so we had to cut 10 pages from the script about halfway through the elevator shoot. So that's not ideal. When I think about like what would the film be like instead if it didn't take place in real time, like what are these opportunities I'm talking about? Well, I think when you have like little time jumps like that, it adds an energy to the film, and it feels like there are scenes that are separated, and you know, people change over time, and even a couple minutes, that feels like there's enough time for characters to have sat with whatever the last event that just happened was, or you know, you can cut ahead and do surprising, interesting things of like, oh, we're gonna do a montage now of the different ways that the characters are trying to get out of the elevator, and it'll be funny because they're failing a bunch or something. You know, it's not like the whole film has to constantly be cutting and jumping ahead in this kind of jarring way, but it gives you some more flexibility and some more options, and it definitely would have made shooting things easier because I could compartmentalize things down into scenes, but doing it the way we did was just it was hard. Yeah, so those are the things to consider if you're thinking of making a real-time film. I think if you're not going to make the film take place in like such a contained small location, I think you're probably fine. Another film that takes place in an elevator, and then it's a horror movie, is Devil. And you have one group of characters that are in the elevator, but you also have a detective who's trying to solve the case. And so you can have some time pass by while we go to one group, and then we come back to the other group, and some things could have changed in between those different time jumps. So that's all I have for today. You know, I will probably have some more videos just breaking down little individual aspects of lessons I learned from making this feature film. If you like this video, then please hit the like. That helps me out on YouTube. Do not subscribe. Please don't. And I'll see you soon. Bye.